You've also launched some new signature programs. Probably the most recent would be the Exoneration Justice Clinic. Can you tell us a little bit about where that came from, what it does, and why you're so excited about it?
Yeah, so what's interesting about this clinic was that it started with students a couple of years ago. Students were simply reaching out to prisoners in the prisons of northern Indiana to work with them on their cases. Prisoners were sending letters to students saying that I'm innocent and I need somebody to listen to me. I need somebody to help me. And so our students were reaching out to them. But there wasn't really a structure in the law school to either give the students credit for it or to help provide support for this effort. And so we created the Exoneration Justice Clinic, and it's now in its second year, and it's run by Professor Jimmy Garuli, who's a former federal prosecutor from Los Angeles, and he's a member of the American Law Institute, a really world-renowned scholar. But he supervises the students along with Kevin Murphy, who left a lucrative partnership at Jenner and Block in Chicago to come help with this effort. And essentially, they have a group of students who review the cases of prisoners in Indiana and elsewhere who claim that they were innocent of the crimes of which they were convicted. And they conduct investigations. They go through the old court records and try to determine whether there's actual innocence there. And when they find a case of actual innocence, and believe me, there are more cases of actual innocence than they can possibly handle, then they go to work on behalf of those clients. And they've been very successful, both at getting new trials ordered by the courts here in Indiana and elsewhere, but also getting prisoners released. The first prisoner that they got released was a man by the name of Andy Royer, who had been in prison for a murder that he didn't commit. It could be proven that he didn't commit. He had spent 17 years in prison. He had diminished mental capacity, and he was picked up by the police for this murder and was grilled over several days. And he was living with his mother and cared for by his mother. And finally, the police said, well, we're not going to let you go home to your mother until you tell us what we want to hear. And so he under that pressure after several days of grilling, he confessed to a crime that he didn't commit. And then when he finished his confession, he said, can I call my mother now? She's going to be worried about me. And they put this man in prison for 17 years. And it was Notre Dame law students who got him released from prison. Our students recently had a wrongfully convicted prisoner released from prison in the state of Illinois. I mean, the wrongful convictions, unfortunately, happen in a lot of places, but what we found is that there are pockets that we might think of as wrongful conviction sinks, where there's something wrong with the police or the prosecutors in those areas, and so they tend to have more cases of wrongful conviction than the rest of the country. So our students have been working on that. One of the other successes of our students is that they forced the resignation of an Elkhart County police officer who had been proven to have perjured himself in 6 different cases. And our students did the investigation. They produced the evidence and the facts and presented it to the courts. And the courts and the police department realized that there was no way that this officer could remain on their force given the evidence that our students produced. And so with little victories like that, our students are changing the lives of people while they're still studying law here. I mean, at the end of the day, we are still training them to be lawyers, but they are getting a meaningful experience at how the system can go wrong and what they can do to fix it.
That's beautiful. I mean, Father Soren envisioned this university as becoming one of the most powerful means for good in all of society. these little stories are not little to those on the receiving end.
Yeah.
And they're huge. And to see what the law school is doing through the Exoneration Justice Clinic is fantastic.